In the serene, sterile confines of a hospital theater, a woman lies on an operating bed, her body numb from the anesthesia and her mind a bit restless. Once she heard the cry of her newborn, it brought a flood of emotions. It dawned on her everything she had endured. The years of longing, the heartache, the countless trials. Lucy was a vibrant, beautiful young woman who fell in love with Alexander, a man she could only describe as the embodiment of her dreams. Their courtship shortly blossomed into a marriage that many admired. Alexander was devoted, kind, hard-working, and responsible. Together, they formed a bond that seemed unbreakable, built on love, mutual respect, care, and shared dreams. Yet, 2 years into their marriage, their happiness was overshadowed by a painful struggle. They could not conceive, though efforts have been made to. Alex and Lucy decided to seek help. They went through a series of fertility treatments. 6 months later, Lucy missed her period. She took a pregnancy test, and to their delight, it was positive. That night, the expectant parents spent the whole night discussing how their child and future would be as they cuddled. But their happiness was short-lived. At their first antenatal appointment, the ultrasound revealed a blighted ovum, a non-viable pregnancy that would result in a miscarriage. The news was devastating. They held on to hope, but the loss left an indelible mark on their hearts. As they were recovering from their grief, pressure began to mount from friends and family. Well-meaning but intrusive suggestions poured in. Advice on food, positions, and herbal remedies. Alex's mother, Mame Poquia, began to distance herself from Lucy. Her subtle insults and passive-aggressive remarks only deepening the wound. But Alex stood by Lucy, defending her and apologizing on his mother's behalf. 2 years later, Lucy once again missed her period. She didn't dare to hope. But with the encouragement of her grandparents, she took another test and learned she was pregnant. 2 months later, the joy was once again shattered by a second miscarriage. This time, the loss broke Lucy. She fell into a deep depression, barely eating or sleeping, her days consumed by tears. Alex and her family rallied around her, offering love and support. Later, they both decided to live a happy and fulfilled life even without a child. But deep within Lucy, she still wanted to have a child badly. On the morning of her 34th birthday, Lucy woke up with a heavy heart, feeling as though her life had been nothing good, but a series of struggles. She knelt by her bed and whispered a prayer. "Thank you, God, for hating me," her words laden with despair. Her thoughts drifted back to her childhood. Her parents had abandoned her and her sister at the age of 10. To traverse the desert in search of a better life, never to return. They were taken in by their grandparents. But financial struggles persisted. 2 miscarriages and long-term infertility after 10 years of marriage. As she sat contemplating the lack of joy in her life, Alex entered the room, holding a cupcake with a single candle. He wrapped his arms around her, offering comfort and gentle reminders of the blessings in her life. A supportive family, a recent master's degree, good health, and a stable job. His words began to lighten her mood, and she stood from the bed, heading towards the bathroom with a slightly brighter outlook. For the past year, their journey had been an emotional roller coaster. The struggle with infertility taking its toll, Alex suggested alternative adoption, IVF, but Lucy remained adamant about bearing a child of her own. 5 months later, a visit to the hospital revealed a miracle. She was 3 months pregnant. The news filled them with overwhelming joy. They eagerly shared the news with Lucy's family, who were as well overjoyed and congratulated them. But when Alex called his mother, her response was cold. "I want a grandchild, not a grand fetus. Why are you behaving as if it's her first pregnancy? Who knows if she can carry it to term?" she said dismissively. Her words stung, but Alex tried to brush them off. Alex had a very bizarre relationship with his mother. She seemed not to care or appreciate him. But Alex cared deeply for her. Mame Poquia had 3 children: Alex, Yamichair and Mary. Yamichair was the apple of her eye, and it was so evident to them growing up. One fateful day Alex lured Yamichair to the riverside to force him to learn to swim. But it ended in tragedy when Yamichair drowned. From that day Mame Poquia's little love for Alex seemed to evaporate, replaced by resentment. No matter what Alex did, working hard, putting himself through school, building her a house, and supporting Mary's 8 children, it was never enough to win back her affection. When Lucy brought their newborn son home, the house was filled with laughter and joy. Mame Poquia insisted they name the baby Yamichair, and despite their reservations, they agreed. She moved in to help care for her grandson. For her it was a replacement. She showed kindness and warmth they had never seen from her before. But as the months passed, Lucy started observing signs of developmental delay in Yamichair. He could not roll, sit, and crawl. Worried, they took him to a doctor, who assured them that all children develop at their own pace. But by the time Yamichair was 2 years old, and still couldn't walk or talk, and drooling saliva, they knew something was seriously wrong. A specialist confirmed their worst fears. Yamichair had cerebral palsy, a condition that could not be cured. But he assured them that with therapies, medication, and support, he could live a decent life. The news devastated them. Both of them did not utter a word to each other on their way home. Whenever they saw Yamichair they would be so broken. Lucy cried for hours each night, praying for a miracle, while Alex tried to be strong for both of them. They called a family meeting to share the diagnosis. But instead of support, they were met with accusations and blame. Mame Poquia and Mary turned on Lucy, accusing her of bringing a curse into the family, suggesting she had gone to a river deity for help in desperation for a child. The meeting ended in chaos, with harsh words and shattered hearts. From that day on, Lucy withdrew into herself. Her emotions dulled. She neither laughed nor cried. She barely spoke and distanced herself from Yamichair, unable to accept his condition. Yamichair started various therapies and treatments, which also brought financial constraints on the family. She even told colleagues at work that her son had died. Her family, understanding her pain, stepped in to help care for Yamichair. As for Lucy, they knew she needed time to come to terms with reality. One day, Mame Poquia convinced Lucy to visit a fetish priest, promising that he could cure Yamichair. So, she should find a convenient time for them to go. Lucy agreed. 2 weeks later, Alex went for a 4-day conference. They traveled to the priest, who told them the only solution was to return Yamiche to the river goddess. In her desperation, Lucy complied, taking the boy from his nanny and bringing him to the priest. He instructed them to tie the boy up and leave him in the shrine. Early the next morning, as Lucy prepared to leave, there was a knock on the door. Surprisingly, Alex stood there. He had returned early from his conference. Sensing something was wrong, he demanded to know where Yamiche was. Lucy hesitated. Alex, piecing together the clues, rushed to his mother's house. When she denied knowing anything, Lucy nervously confessed. Enraged, Alex stormed to the shrine, threatening to call the police. The priest revealed Yamiche's whereabouts. Yamiche was found weak and crying, tied up and abandoned. Alex immediately rushed him to the hospital, his heart heavy with anger and betrayal. He didn't speak to Lucy for weeks, his disappointment palpable. Lucy, realizing the gravity of her actions, tried to reach out, but Alex turned away, too hurt to forgive. One day, as Alex was feeding Yamiche, Mame Poquia arrived, unapologetically asking for money. This time, Alex decided to confront her. He told her he knew she hated him, and that he was sorry for the accident that took his brother's life. But he was done trying to earn her forgiveness or love. He would no longer seek her approval, and he was drawing a boundary between them. If she couldn't be proud of him, he would be proud of himself. With that, he asked her to leave his house. Unmoved, Mame Poquia left, and as days passed, Lucy continued to try to make amends. She joined a support group for mothers of children with cerebral palsy. Slowly beginning to come to terms with Yamiche's condition, she started spending more time with him, learning to care for him and love him for who he is. Seeing this change, Alex softened. They finally talked. Lucy admitted she was scared she wasn't strong enough. They both apologized, embraced, and vowed to move forward together. From that day on, they cared for Yamiche as a team. A year later, they were blessed with another child. They were a couple who have had their fair share of life struggles. Despite all that, they knew with faith, love, and each other, they could push ahead regardless.